no money, that's an asshole. It wasn't a phase.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Senior Citizen Podcast, and we are here with Luis Canessa from Corazón Rabioso and probably like a ton of other bands too. How are you, Luis?
Good. How are you doing?
I don't like technical difficulties. They make me feel bad, to be honest. But I'm glad that we're going to get this episode out and running. I want to hear a little bit about you as a musician, since when you reached out to me, you were like, I've been in the scene forever, I've played for a lot of bands, and that just always excites me.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get through the Rolodex, but I've done pretty much all of the instruments you can have in a rock band. I've done all of the, I wouldn't say all of the rock genres, but all of the trippy rock genres. So I've done stoner metal and folk and psychedelic rock and jam bands and a little bit of emo, and yeah, just all over the place in terms of that.
If you had to pick like your favorite genre to play or perform with.
Oh, well, I'm a very fervent believer that genres are not real, and like I try so hard not to look at them.
I love asking about them because it'll be the most cryptic genre, and it's like, what does that mean? What does it make it that?
Oh yeah, exactly. And I like using them as pointers. Mm-hmm. But I usually find music that can really easily fit into one genre kind of boring, unless it's like this is the thing that founded that genre, or it's like a very traditional style of music, for example, like something like jazz, that can be really exciting when it's like, oh, this is like the old school way of doing things. But like people who stick with like one genre, I don't really see eye to eye as a musician. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I think the closest category would be just psychedelic rock, especially anything like Pink Floyd, anything like King Crimson.
I see the Pink Floyd tattoo.
Yeah. Those guys are my day one. Anything like Jimi Hendrix. I'm such a sucker for like anything even remotely resembling Jimi Hendrix. So yeah, I guess that answers it.
Okay. I don't like the genre box either, and I love that we're in a day and age of music where people just switch it up all the time.
Yeah.
And artists don't really like to label themselves either.
Well, we're finally getting to the point that the style of music one plays is not limited to where they are geographically speaking. Because
Mm-hmm.
before it was like there is especially you see this a lot in early days of punk, like New York punk, LA punk, London punk. They're very different. Mm-hmm. But like then you look at the London scene, everyone is doing very similar things. And it's because that's what you're exposed to. You can't really like ship out a bunch of records from LA into London and have everyone listen to them and be inspired by them. But now we have Spotify. I can listen to an African band from the 70s,
right? And
a classical music from the 1800s, and everything in between. And not be only what my radio has, what the local record store has. So yeah.
I had like an intrusive thought. It's like, can you imagine all the music that's not on Spotify? Like, because it has to be.
Oh, I think
out
about
there,
that all the time.
right?
I think about that so much.
How many gems aren't like easily accessible to us?
There's one that I think about is that there's the Jimi Hendrix album Axis Bold as Love.
No.
Well, that's his like second studio album. Okay. He left the master tapes in the back of a taxi, and he had to remix and remaster the entire thing in like a weekend. Not him personally, but his producer. So somewhere out there is what
the original,
what he deems the much better mix and the much better mastering.
That's so funny.
So I think about that record. I think about what'd you call it? I think about all the one thing as a jazz musician I think about is that every single time someone puts on a show, it's a completely different experience. Mm-hmm. So and when jazz musicians get in the recording studio, they really don't have a live audience, And a lot of them will say is like, oh, because I don't have a live audience, those are not even close to my best work. And I'm just like, only 50 people saw Coltrane at his absolute peak, you know?
Right.
So, yeah.
I love that. I feel like that Jimi Hendrix thing would be like a trivia question. Like, what studio album did Jimi Hendrix leave in the back of a taxi?
Oh, man. I just remember that because
God.
it's hilarious. Like, how can you just leave that masterpiece just...
Right.
Oh, man, I forgot it in a taxi.
It's the equivalent to when you leave your phone somewhere. Because this is my life, and if I leave it somewhere, I'm done.
It's over.
Right. What was your relationship like with music growing up? Like, when did you start playing and whatnot?
So, music growing up, I really didn't like it outside of video game music for some time, but only because of like, you know, I like video games. I like all aspects of the video games, including the music.
I love video game music.
Yes.
Kingdom Hearts, Utada Hikaru, like that is elite. Like I will cry if I hear that. I saw her playing it at like the live stream of Coachella. Tears.
Oh no, it's some video game music out there is absolutely fantastic.
Gold. Yep.
But besides that, I really thought that anything with like a rock band, anything like from a pop artist, it's kind of because that was my reaction whenever I turn on Top 40 and put on whatever. I'd just be like, it doesn't really reach me, doesn't really touch me, it seems kind of surface level. So I really thought that music was an inferior art form compared to movies, compared to books, which I really liked growing up. Until I had a friend in middle school, and he was pretty much, we always talked about books and movies, but he was a really big record guy. And I just thought to myself, like, do you not see that like records are bad? Like, am I missing something? Like, I gotta get this guy to snap out of it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna prove him wrong by trying to prove myself wrong. So I was like, give me a list of like 10 records that you think are as good as like the best movies and you've seen and the best books you've ever read. And the number one, like the first on the list, was Dark Side of the Moon. And I listened to that, I was blown away. I was obsessed with that record. And then I was obsessed with Pink Floyd for some time. I don't even remember the rest of the records on that list. I just got stuck on Dark Side of the Moon. I was like, oh, I have to listen to this on repeat every single day now.
It kind of ruins the rest of it for you too, because you're like, this is so great, I don't want to listen to anything else.
Yeah, no, that's how I was. And him being like the biggest music nerd, even to this day that I know, he's like, you have no idea. There's like millions of 10 out of 10 records out there. Yeah. And thank God, you know.
Well, as an adult now, because that's obviously way back in the day before you even got into listening and playing the music. It was a bit of an elitist mindset, if you're willing to admit it. That music
absolutely
isn't good, and
like,
no hate on Top 40, but like as an adult now, like, can you admit you enjoy some Top 40, some pop, some more surface level stuff, or is it just not your thing at all?
I guess I'm much more of an albums guy, so I don't really listen to singles a whole lot. I will say that there is pop that's good. I mean, Stevie Wonder is a thing. And of course I listen to what would be considered top 40 artists, like Tyler, the Creator, and Kendrick, but I don't think that their best work is on the radio.
Okay.
And if I were to be exposed to them through what they're putting out at the radio, I'll be like, it's okay.
Right.
It's good.
Okay.
And yeah, and besides that, like most classic songs that are on the radio for me are way overplayed. So I'm just
right. It's the basic ones.
Yeah.
It's the ones. I think I'm gonna stand up for the basics for a second, because then there's gonna be the little kid that hears it and they're gonna like it and they're gonna be like, "What's this?" And then they delve into it, and that's what keeps it alive.
The delving in is the important part. Key.
Right. You gotta, and sometimes you gotta like flick them into it.
No,
but
of course. And I'm sure if I heard Time on the radio, I'm shocked that I didn't. Time by Pink Floyd. Had I heard that on the radio, I might have been like, okay, I gotta check this out.
Right.
But besides that, no, not really. Maybe some AC/DC growing up, but that's just because, it's what my friends' dads would would play at a barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, oh, this is actually pretty good. But besides that, I'm sure there's artists that put out good stuff on Top 40. I just don't listen to the radio. I have Spotify.
A lot of people don't listen to radio. I need you to pass me a playlist though, because I'm interested in your oldies world. I don't listen to a lot of oldies music. Like,
oh, I'm just a sucker for that time and that time where people just when record companies didn't care too much about who they're signing. They're like, the kids love it. I don't care what we're printing out, because that's how you get artists like Zappa or Captain Beefheart signed. It's got to be a record company is like, well, kids are showing up to listen
shows,
to them.
yeah.
We're just gonna give them the reins on this record thing, and not make too much fuss about a single or anything.
Right.
Yeah, like that period between like 67 and 75. Also the drugs from that time period really influenced a lot.
Drugs.
Yeah.
No, that little bit of the record companies reminded me of the song "Sell Out" by Real Big Fish.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna play what the kids want you to hear. So I want to hear a little bit about your experience with local bands, what you've played in.
So the timeline goes as follows. I picked up guitar when I was 15. And
right, because we got over the whole not liking music thing. So now
then it went overboard. It's like the music is the greatest
now
thing
music
ever.
is my life. It runs through my veins. I'm going to play instruments.
I started on piano, but I'm really not great at the whole coordination thing. So that quickly got dropped because I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to learn piano to compose, right? Because I still want my, the whole like classical angle, the whole orchestrated angle. I want to be able to read and write sheet music, and piano became too hard. And at the same time, I picked up guitar, but I was like, oh, guitar will be like a neat party trick. But I got really into it, and it was around the time that I became exposed to Jimi Hendrix, and I learned literally every song that dude made, put out on a studio record, or at least I attempted to. Not say I got any of them like 100% down, but I was obsessed. And then I joined a old friend, Nav. We formed Fuzzadelic. That was a hardcore / psychedelic rock band.
Fuzzadelic?
Yes, Fuzzadelic.
I like it.
Thanks.
If I saw Fuzzadelic on a flyer, I'd come out.
I'm proud of that name, despite what my boys say. I am proud of that name.
If anybody's got something different to say, I got some words for you.
Yeah. It was a reference to two bands I really like, Fuzz and Funkadelic.
Okay.
Around the time, and but that was just that was like hardcore punk. It was a lot of noise rock. It was very angry, and that was a thing for some time. Then I went to study music at BC. From there I joined a prog band named Mother Bass. I played bass in that band, and it was like prog metal. There was a lot of Incubus influence. There was a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers influence in it. A whole lot of the band Chan.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Unlocked memory.
Yeah. They're like back when they were blowing up. Like this is like around the time that I was a Mother Bass in it. I also was a multi-instrumentalist in a band called Ghost Flower. And
Another good name.
Yeah.
Your resume looks good name-wise.
I didn't come up with the Ghost Flower. I joined a band that had 2 members in it, and they had all the songs written. And that's kind of the reason why I left, was because, I would be like, hey, this is a song idea. And they'd, look at it and be like, that's great. I mean, you can do something with it. It's like, oh, okay.
Thanks for the support, guys.
Because it's like, this is Ghost Flower. You can do your own thing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And so I did from that band. Mother Bass, I had some creative differences, so I did from that. And then around this time, I joined 3 bands at the same time. On guitar, I did Carnal Barker. On drums, I did Shaven. And on bass, I did Dark Hearts. Carnal Barker was blues rock, folk punk.
Okay.
Then Shaven was was emo rock, kind of mathy, and Dark Hearts was this really cool mix of sludgy metal, emo, and folk that I really enjoyed. It has a bit of shoegaze elements to it, and my idea was to do these three bands at the same time that I'm writing music. Because I'm like, okay, I want to know what it's like to be a bass player. I want to know what it's like to be a drummer. I want to know what it's like to be a guitar player. And at the same time, I want to study how these three different band leaders conduct their band business.
So did you sleep?
No,
Okay.
I was studying music, doing the three bands, writing, and working as a delivery driver at the same time. I was not sleeping. But it
so
was
you were
great.
self-taught for all these instruments?
For the most part. I mean, when I was studying music, I'm studying with a professor, but the vast majority of what I'm playing, especially now, is I just went online and was like, oh, how did this artist do it? And so, I did it with tabs. And what helped me a lot is I would grab any dude that I thought was good at their instrument and be like, can you give me pointers? What do I practice? What do I learn? What's your technique like? And my idea was just to absorb as much as possible. I know that once I left Shaven, and once Dark Hearts kind of died down, I had some time, and I was like, every single day I'm gonna jam with someone new. And it didn't work out always. I think it was like 3 people a week.
Right.
That I'm like, let me jam with them and try to see where they're coming from and how to think about music. And when I felt ready, I formed my own band, Corazón Rabioso. And we went through a bunch of different members and phases. And then at some point, I also played drums in this band called Telecon. Telecon is new wave, post-punk. Kind of like, the band's Foals? It's also a bit Radiohead-ish.
Okay.
And that one I actually learned a lot about studio recording, because the band leader of that band, Tomas, shouts out, love him. He is a recording prodigy. Like, he has his garage set up like as a studio, and I mean like fully decked out studio. You can't tell it's a garage.
Oh.
The
Soundproofed, looks
soundproofed,
nice.
everything.
AC.
Yeah. Dual monitors. The what you call it? The desktop with the colored lights.
Oh.
Right.
And you know they're real when they have the curved monitors too, like that are
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. and he recorded like he mixed and mastered his debut album at from 17 to 18 years old, and it sounds fantastic. It sounds beautiful. And so I learned a lot about recording from him. I learned a little bit about like different aspects of music from all of these band leaders to some extent. But yeah, that's pretty much the big picture.
It's a huge picture. I'm gonna
sorry.
No, you're fine. I love it. It gives me things to like pick and poke at. So the first thing I want to go to is, so you're a multi-instrumentalist. What's your favorite instrument to jam with?
Okay.
And those are one of those questions that's like, today I like this and tomorrow I like that. But what are we feeling right now?
Honestly depends on who I'm playing with.
Okay.
Because I know that when I play with certain bassists, I'm like, I love to hop on drums with them.
Right.
And they work really well with my rhythms. There's certain bassists that I'm like, they provide very interesting harmonic ideas, so I want to be on guitar. There's guitar players that I'm like, I know if I throw stuff at them on a bass, it'll come out great. But for the most part, I have the most fun playing drums.
Okay.
But the instrument I feel most connected to personally is the guitar.
Okay. So
what I mean is that on drums, I have fun, but I don't express myself in the full range that I can on guitar.
Right.
And singing, I'm starting to enjoy it a bit more, but I used to think of it as, it's a necessity.
Right.
I love writing lyrics. I love writing melodies. I don't trust those lyrics to other people. But the whole, like, warming up, trying to get the perfect pitch.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's nerve-wracking because I used to be, that's something else. I had, like, no musical talent at all. So it was an uphill fight to get any sort of pitch in my ear.
Right.
Or get any sort of rhythm in my hands.
I don't know how you did it because I am one of those people that you play me like 2 notes and I can't tell the difference between them. So I get it.
No, I used to be in that.
But okay, so let's just pick guitar since it's what you feel most connected to.
Sure.
And you can express yourself. When you were going through mentors and asking them whatnot, what's the best tip that you got when you were playing the guitar?
The best tip?
Yeah, for anybody out there learning.
Slow down.
Okay.
Slow down and think about your notes carefully. A lot of shredders are not going to like this. Younger me is not going to like this. But, what's way more impressive than 1,000 notes just is the 3 notes that hit right in the heart, right? That dance off a chord perfectly. And that was something I got from my mentor, Kenny, from Carnal Barker. Shouts out. And because he writes he writes folk songs that are really short. Like, and I'm coming in from psychedelic rock, progressive rock background, and I still to this day I love playing and writing 9-minute songs, but he's like, not every song needs 5 verses, not every song needs a solo, not every song needs a key change, and he is one of the best songwriters I ever met. So when I listen to his songs and the way that he makes me feel with just 4 chords, I'm like, man, he's right. Like, and it's not these like
when they scratch the right spot.
Yeah, no, it's because that's what music is supposed to be. Self-expression is not always super complicated. Sometimes it's very, very, very direct. So that's probably the biggest tip. The second biggest is take care of your equipment. It doesn't seem like it's such an artistic thing. It's like, but when I'm able to hold the guitar in a certain way and the notes just fly on my hand, I'm like, okay, I don't even need to think about the way I'm playing. Well, I get to think about the way I'm expressing. Right. And it just comes out naturally. If I had to, it's the same way of typing on a computer versus typing on a typewriter. Right. If it was a typewriter, I'd go with like 2 index fingers. Yes. Right. But since it's a computer, it just flies off. Right. And I think in just the words, not my hand placement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The slow down one, I get it. My niece plays instruments, and I love saying that and then showing the videos to people, so I'll probably show you after, because it's like, yeah, my 9-year-old niece plays the violin and piano, and people think, it's like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and this little girl's playing, I can't even tell you what composer it was, because it's not Beethoven, and it's not Bach, and it's not any of the traditional ones that we're used to hearing. Oh, yeah. And her teachers are always like, slow down, you need to take a second. Oh, yeah. Because she'll zoom past it.
Oh, that's something. The slow down is I think the tip.
It's universal, basically.
Yeah, specifically, the way Kenny put it is never play at the max that you can, ever. You can't. It can't be up there, fighting every single piece of music you play. Sometimes, it should come as naturally as breathing. No, it should always come as naturally as breathing.
I like that.
Yeah.
A lot of things are like that too. You always got to take a breath and, can't be at 1,000% all the time.
Of course.
When you started, so you started Corazón Rabioso. How did this band start? Where did the name come from? Because that's like the most, the thing that pops out to me the most, being a Spanish speaker.
Oh, well, I'll start with, so I left Mother Base, and I didn't leave it on great terms. I felt very creatively frustrated. And I remember I had a very, very vivid dream that I told my friend about, in which I was instructed by an entity or an agent that it was like this dude that was made out of fire. That all of these rules, all of these things that I wanted to achieve in mother base, but I couldn't. I got to now do them, right? Almost as a way of like breaking free of that influence. So I woke up from that vivid dream. I wrote down as many rules as I could. Some of them were kind of like really deep, and some of them were like, really stupid or like shallow. Like I remember like one of the more shallower ones, like make a song in which you have a ABA rhyme, no second B.
Okay.
And do that for an entire verse, right? And there's no song out there but I've written it and just to practice, just to be like, okay, I got to break out of these like mental jails, And I told my friend about it, and he's like, well, now you got to start your own project. I feel like it's fairly obvious. And so that's where I got because I thought of joining another band and like, influencing that band to do what I want instead of starting from ground zero.
Yeah.
I started from ground zero so much that I was like, you know what? I don't even need a band. I'm gonna do the solo artist thing. And I performed some songs. I even had some instrumentals that I just did on guitar, and I got the same response from everyone. These are pretty good. Get yourself a band. So there's that. And when I started that as a solo artist, I was polyrhythmic heart because I have a heart condition.
Oh.
So when I was born, I had hypoplastic left heart. Had to get open heart surgery like 2 days after I was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
Trauma, but you don't remember it.
I don't remember any of it.
No, you're not going
to. So
to.
I did like 3 surgeries by the time I was 3, but I don't remember any of them. Yeah. So it's like really weird when someone's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "For what? Like, I'm here.
I'm living, dude.
I'm chilling. But
also, shout out to science and doctors nowadays, because like, what the hell?
Oh,
like,
shout outs to all the cardiologists that had to deal with me, because God knows they work hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was like polyrhythmic heart, because if you were to listen to it, it's literally polyrhythmic. It doesn't fit into one singular beat. And I was like, that's cool, but I want it to be somewhat like more Spanish, right? So Corazón polirítmico, but that doesn't roll off the tongue that well. And I got really, really into this one Argentine singer-songwriter, Luis Spinetta.
Okay.
And he has a very, very interesting history where he goes from like folk artists into like jazz fusion, prog rock.
Right.
And everything in between, and his transition from folk rock into blues rock is this band called Corazón Rabioso. And
Angry Fish.
Yeah, and I was like, Corazón Rabioso though. And I was like, I thought it was a really dope name, so I kind of went with that, and it stuck because as now more and more, it feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy, where a lot. Since it's a sort of like exotic sounding name, we do exotic sounding music more and more, and it's kind of like mystical sounding, and now we really like dig into that vibe. So yeah, no, that's where the name came from.
Congratulations. Like,
Thank you.
I always get very happy to hear people fulfilling the projects and the things that they wanted to do, because I know how good it can feel to finally see those things out there. I don't know when Corazón Rabioso got started. What year was it?
This was like 5 years ago.
2018. Okay.
2018. Yeah.
2018-ish. Okay. Yeah, no, and look at you. You're still going.
Oh, yeah. And I'm so glad I'm still doing this. We actually played the show. We did like a band contest to get into Revolution. Mm-hmm. And the show we did, what was really interesting is like it was the 5-year anniversary of when I had that dream.
Yeah.
Because I remember that dream was the night before Easter.
Oh.
And then we played Saturday, the night before Easter, and that was literally our best show ever. And it was so surreal experiencing that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in like dreams and stuff too. Like there's obviously you have your like normal odd dreams that or like half nightmarish ones where you like wake up and you're like, what the fuck was that? But then you have dreams that can be so calming, or they can be like a sign or something. Like, I remember a while ago I had a dream of the entire dream was me getting calls from my mom saying, come back home, your grandma's here. And my grandma's been dead since I was 8-ish.
Okay.
And yeah, the dream was I got home, I went into my room, and she was sitting there, and she gave me a hug. And I felt that hug. Like, I felt the embrace. I woke up and I was like, what the fuck? And to me, that's just kind of like her spirit's here with me. She's watching over me, you know?
That's beautiful and terrifying.
Yeah. Well, no, I think when you're explaining it, it's a little bit like, whoa, terrifying, but like the feeling it gave you, it doesn't scare you. It's very peaceful. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
No, well, that's what isn't the goosebumps a sign that it's terrifying?
No.
Okay. Fine.
No, it's just more like chills. Like when you saw the fireman, you probably weren't like,
oh, I was freaking out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I woke up and was like, what was that? Because it was crazy. That's why I told my friend about it.
Oh.
Because I literally I texted her like, hey man, call me when you wake up. I gotta talk this through.
Did you wake up in like the middle of the night from it too?
No, I got woken up like my family likes to do Easter Sunday the first mass, which is 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah.
To watch the sunrise with the mass, and so my brother woke me up from that, and I was like, oh, where am I?
Right.
I was like, are you okay? You know. So yeah, I wouldn't. The band dream I wouldn't define as calming. The grandma sounds nice, but the
grandma was calming.
The man on fire was not.
Was he like, did he have any detectable features, or was it just a blob of fire?
No, it's. This is where it gets even weirder. I'm in a cave. I'm looking at. So there's like a fire. I know that there's a fireman. I never see him. I know there's a fireman behind me, and the fire is kind of like projecting my shadow onto the cave wall.
Oh wow!
But then that shadow is what's moving.
Got you.
Right? It's not like I'm moving my hand and the shadow moves. It's the shadow is speaking to me.
That's okay. That's terrifying. Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? And it's so specific. It's so like where did this come from?
Yeah.
You know?
No. See the first time you explained it, in my mind, I'm envisioning like they're here to just tell you, you know, what you need to be doing, but that's creepy.
No, it's terrifying.
I want to jump back because you
tell
said that you liked video game music as a kid, and this was a couple minutes ago, but it was an intrusive thought. What video games were you like into? What was the music that you liked?
Well, as a very, very little kid, I liked, Super Mario Bros. And Mario Kart. And then as I grew older, I got really into first-person shooters. And the video game music that I liked the most was probably from Halo. Because it's very, very mystical, very epic sounding. Right. They got this incredible use of like Gregorian chants that I haven't really heard anywhere. So, and that has kind of stuck with me. And of course, the beautiful, beautiful music of Minecraft. You know, that was not what I was expecting. I know. Because I moved so far away from that, but most people will probably think like Kingdom Hearts, Zelda. I've never played Zelda. I've listened to the music of Zelda. I love it. I recommend Zelda. It's a good game. Well, like right now we're in the middle of Tears of the Kingdom, and it's changed so much. It's very like I compare it to being Minecrafty. I've never played Minecraft. Yeah. But the way that you can just build things, it feels very overpowered. Great game, though. 10 out of 10. You can really, like, delve in there for a couple hours. Oh, well, the sad part is I haven't touched video games since I touched music. Like, It was like, whoop, transition. Yeah. I can see that. And so I'm kind of behind. All of my bandmates are at least retired video game nerds, and I'm just sitting there like, I haven't touched anything in like a decade. Right. It's like what's happening with the new Elden Ring? I don't even know what that game is about. So Elden Ring's a funny story, and I've told this on here before, so I'll just give the short version. But basically, when the day Elden Ring came out, I had a concussion. Okay. I'm not a gamer. I just like watching people play games. Where's this concussion from? Like, I fell in my house. I was just like running around. I fell. Okay. Got a concussion, and when I woke up, and it's funny because everything before, while I had the concussion, felt like a dream. And I woke up and my boyfriend's just sitting there playing Elden Ring, and I was like, I'm nauseous as hell. They show me a paper, and they're like, if you puke, you have to go back to the hospital. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. I'm great. Exactly. And I sat there watching him play Elden Ring, and
him and my brother, like, they each clocked in probably like 400 hours, if I'm not wrong.
Sounds like it.
Either they said it or I'm like dreaming it, but whatever.
Those 200 hours probably went to just one boss from what my bandmates tell me.
Basically, it's a hard game.
Yeah.
That's why I will not play it. But yeah, no, when I say it wasn't what I was expecting video game wise, it's because you never think of those games when it comes to music. My mind automatically goes to things like Zelda or Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy and stuff like that. But
oh yeah, but no,
Minecraft music, I'll give it a try.
It was just anything that's that had calming piano for whatever reason. I was like, I just love those colorful chords. And then when I got into other record stuff, it kind of like stayed behind. It's still a little bit there, but I'm now much more focused on anything that's like jammy. Mm-hmm. Anything that's like multiple people doing like reacting live to what each other are doing. Mm-hmm. That's also a huge thing. Best recommendation I've gotten is for some of the best advice I've gotten for music is always try to make everyone else in the band sound as best as possible, and then you will sound good. If you ever focus on like, how do I sound in this context, it kind of sounds unpointed or undisciplined.
Okay.
When it's like, okay, am I making the drum sound good? Am I making the bass sound good? I know those are rhythm instruments, but what I do on guitar determines how those instruments will come out to the audience.
Right.
Yeah, that's just, I guess jazz 101. Yeah.
Your whole story has given me like training arc vibes, like how you started studying music and were on all those bands and challenging yourself to write and jam with different people. The jamming thing, the jam with a different person every day, sounds like a social media challenge. Like, I'm going to jam with a different person every day, and it sounds very cool. Just throwing out the ideas out there.
Oh, I loved it. Especially because when you're studying music in school, you think to yourself, man, all of the great musicians out there are way overthinking it. They're thinking is like, what chords am I using? What scales am I using? When you talk to some guys that are like banging out great tunes, they're like, no thought. This sounds nice. This good sound. This good sound mixes well with this good sound. And the best musicians I've met, when I ask them, what are you thinking about when you're soloing? Absolutely nothing. No thoughts.
No thoughts, just vibes.
Yes. It is like, it's just my body's doing the thing. The brain is clocked out.
That's so interesting. It's like you black out and just, somebody else had mentioned that earlier too. Like
Santana has a word for it.
What is it?
Holy ghost music.
Holy ghost music.
Because he has experienced this phenomenon that like he gets onto the stage and everything is a blur, and then he gets off the stage, and the more blur it is, the better it sounds in hindsight. And what'd you call it? And that's always stuck with me because I've experienced that since then, and it's like people show you like the footage, you're like, that's me? What?
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So everything has gotten you up to this point where I want to ask about your style, because it's very cool. I love funky styles. You said that this reminds you of what you wore to Revolution the other day.
Yes.
Got flower crowns going on. Is there a point behind it, or? So
the flowers, first of all, I like feeling pretty.
Right.
But the flowers, I like it because there's this do you know Stoic philosophy? Mm-mm. Stoicism, just watering it down really quick, is this philosophy that came from Greece and from Rome in ancient times, and it's pretty much the idea of trying to remind yourself that there could be hard times ahead, there will be hard times ahead. It's a fact of life, and it's also and one of the bigger practices they do is doing this thing called memento mori. It's a collection of practices in which you remind yourself you're going to die one day. Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds really morbid, but in my opinion, and I guess the opinion of most Stoics, it makes you appreciate day to day much more. So like one memento mori practice would be literally waking up and being like, breathing in, today I might not see the bed. Breathe out. Today might be tomorrow I might not see the next morning. Breathe in, and this applies to everyone. Breathe out. And it then, like, every single time, and doing that practice is like, I appreciate every single little moment. And these flowers, they flower when they're about to die.
Right.
It's the last Hail Mary of like, please pollinate, right?
Right.
Spread the seed.
Right.
And
they look all pretty and they're blossomed and
it's I love that, like, imagery of like, it's beautiful and it's tragic and it's violent, but it's natural. And I like all of those contexts. So like, I love wearing the flower crowns every show because a lot of that, the music is supposed to be that dichotomy of like, you know, the bad vibes and the good vibes. They're both beautiful, you know. And yeah, so it's pretty much. I love the flowers.
well, I have no follow up to that. That's actually so cool. Like, that it's not just, you know, to feel pretty or look pretty, because we all had our flower crown phase a couple of years ago.
No, I'm gonna stick with it. At least I think it's become like such a central part of the band.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking about that.
Are you the only one that wears them?
Yeah, there was a time where we were all wearing them, but they get really annoying when you're you know,
Yeah.
moving your head. I don't move that much on stage because I'm singing a lot of the songs, and you know, the mic is a certain position.
Right.
And if anything, it reminds me, it's like, hey, I can't move too much because like the mic is right here.
Right.
There's been a bunch of times where it's like, I'm jamming out. The next verse, oh my god, right? And yeah. What else? But everyone in the band wears really funky outfits. I think I like that a lot. It shouldn't be like an everyday thing. It should feel like, oh, this show is a special occasion. I'm wearing specifically show clothes.
I like that.
It gets me more in the moment.
Right. No, just how you would dress up for any event. It's like, I want to feel special. I'm not going to put on my old sweatpants today.
I also do like a poem before every show called "The Rights of Corazón Rabioso."
Okay.
And it's in the beginning of the first album. I'm not going to do it here, but I usually do that like spoken word poem before every show because, you know, I have like extreme amounts of jitters.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I say the first line of the poem is like, it's a program. Like I was just like it's automatic at this point.
And you have your Holy Ghost moment.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, if the show goes well, if the string doesn't break, the guitar doesn't disconnect, if nothing pulls me back into reality,
if the camera doesn't die 2
Oh
minutes
gosh,
into an interview. All right. Well, it's time to pull up our Reddit post moment. If I can find it. Fun. So, my boyfriend, who's a 30 male, wants me, a 25-year-old female, to stop wearing makeup, getting my nails done, and straightening my hair, as he's trying to control me. My boyfriend recently told me he does not like when I wear makeup, get my nails done, straighten my curly hair, and wear perfume. He said when I do so, I am a fake person. I am disrespecting him, and he constantly says I smell like a whore. Mind you, he knew before he started dating me that I like to do those things listed. I rarely get my nails done and only straighten my hair when I'm getting a haircut or during the fall or winter season because my hair is easier to maintain. I wear makeup to work, but it is not heavy. I only do my eyelashes, eyebrows, some blush. And I like my perfume because I like smelling good. I told him I feel he is trying to change me, control me, and disrespect me. He claims he is not.
but he is. To some extent, well, as a person that's anti-makeup, that's a wrong reason to be anti-makeup. Makeup isn't something about being, it's not about being fake. The same way, like, I wear flower crown. These things don't grow out of my head. I'm not.
That's a little fake.
Right? Or sometimes I will put paint on my face and go out, but I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. If anything, I'm trying to be more like me. if anything, I'm anti-makeup because it's pretty toxic for the skin.
Right. Fair enough.
Like that's my main gripe. So like that's like my main gripes of like makeup and perfume, but that is controlling. It's weird because like it's like saying that the goal of makeup is to seduce.
Right. And
that's not always the case. It could be, but you're wearing light makeup for work. No, that's just like, well, I want to look decent, you know?
Yeah, it's trying to put a little. I mean, some of us don't ride so hot without makeup, so.
I mean, yeah, it's that should be as natural as, well, I iron my shirts before I use them to work. You know, I want to look presentable.
Right.
And
I think my main issue with this is that when you meet someone a certain way, you're not supposed to be changing them. So it's not like they started wearing makeup after they met you. They've always been like this. So.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're in a relationship with someone, it's because you want them the way they are. If anything, you want them to do better for them, you know,
right.
in the way that they meet their goals. You know, if I'm in a relationship and like my partner wants to be stronger, I'll push my partner to go to the gym. That's not for me. And the minute they go, well, I actually don't want to be stronger, I'll like, okay, right. I drop it.
Right.
You know, I'm not here to change or push anyone. And you know, you can't have this thing of like you go into it with stuff that you really can't stand
mm-hmm.
and try to change it, because that's an uphill battle.
Right.
It should be all about compatibility. It should be about you know, seeing, and if it's not compatible, you can't just fight it.
Right. Compatibility and healthy boundaries. So in my opinion, in my expert opinion, dump his ass. I don't know what your final verdict is.
No, it's honest. It's either have a very serious conversation in which, hey, that makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable. I'm not going to change this just because you feel a certain way. And if you don't like it, there's the door. You know, like.
There's the door, bitch. From that audio. Anyways, this is your shameless plug moment. Anything you want to let people know, this is your moment to plug it in.
I want to let the people know, when is this? Is this coming out before August 12th? By any chance?
Maybe.
Would you know? I'm playing here at August 12th. And so please come out, check it out. And besides that, check out Telecon, check out Corazón. If anything, you can hit me up for even more music recommendations. And my biggest advice to literally everyone on the planet is absorb art. Absorb art you wouldn't be exposed to normally at all times. Well, not all times, but all the times you can give it the attention it deserves. Because life is short and there's so many ideas and flavors and, you know, colors out there that it'd be a waste not to experience them. So thank you.
Thank you for your beautiful words, Luis. Thank you for coming out here with us, and we'll keep helping you out promoting your music, shows, whatever it is. And hopefully you guys subscribe to the Senior Citizen Podcast. We'll catch you next time.